Good evening on World News Tonight. Hormuz crisis. Iran has taken steps to impose tolls on vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz, a key energy choke point. West Asia war. President Trump has threatened Iranian energy plants to be obliterated unless Iran opens up the Strait of Hormuz for shipping. Flailing hope. Time is rapidly running out for stranded humpback whale Timmy as it continues its struggle to find a way out of the Baltic coast.
From Colombo, this is World News Tonight with Amarsha Fernando.
Good evening and thank you for joining us on World News Tonight on other Derana News channel. Tonight we begin in Iran. Iran is moving to impose tolls in the Strait of Hormuz, raising fresh concerns over global energy flows and maritime security. This comes as Iran and Hezbollah launch a coordinated strike on Israel's Haifa with a missile hitting a key refinery.
Iran is taking steps that could significantly reshape control over one of the world's most critical energy routes as tensions across the Middle East continue to rise. According to reports on the country's state media on Monday, a parliamentary commission has approved a plan to impose tolls on vessels passing through the Strait of Hormuz. The proposal includes a payment system using the Iranian rial and broader financial measures aimed at reinforcing what Tehran calls its sovereign authority over the waterway. The plan also envisions coordination with Oman, which shares control of the narrow passage connecting the Persian Gulf to major global shipping lanes. But the proposal is already drawing concern. It includes provisions to ban U.S. and Israeli vessels from transiting the strait, along with measures intended to counter international sanctions on Iran. Analysts warn such moves could escalate tensions further and raise serious legal and security concerns for the global maritime community. The Strait of Hormuz is a vital energy choke point, with about 1/5 of the world's crude oil and liquefied natural gas shipments passing through it under normal conditions. Experts say introducing tolls, combined with new restrictions on certain vessels, could further disrupt already fragile energy flows and increase volatility in global oil and gas prices. Meanwhile, tensions are spilling over into direct military action. Iran and the Lebanese armed group Hezbollah have carried out a coordinated attack on Israel's industrial city of Haifa. Israeli media said a missile struck a distillation tank at a refinery operated by the Bazan Group on Monday. The company says there are no casualties and that operations remain unaffected. Both Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Hezbollah were reportedly involved in targeting Haifa, though it remains unclear which group launched the missile that hit the refinery.
U.S. President Donald Trump warned that Iran's energy plants and oil wells would be obliterated if it did not open the Strait of Hormuz after Tehran described U.S. peace proposals as unrealistic and fired waves of missiles at Israel.
Emergency responders in Haifa assessed the damage on Monday after Iran fired waves of missiles at Israel. The Israeli military said 2 drones from Yemen had also been intercepted, and that Lebanon's Hezbollah had fired rockets at Israel as well. The attacks came as a defiant Tehran called U.S. peace proposals, quote, excessive, unrealistic, and illogical. But White House spokesperson Caroline Leavitt on Monday said that despite all of the public posturing, talks with Iran are going well.
President Trump issued a 10-day pause to postpone planned strikes on Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure. This remains a truly once-in-a-generation opportunity for the regime to make a good deal with the United States, permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions, and stop acting as the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism.
Earlier, Trump, in a Truth Social post, warned that Iran's energy plants and oil wells would be obliterated if it did not open the Strait of Hormuz. Leavitt also said that Trump would be interested in calling on Arab countries to pay for the cost of the Iran war.
It's an idea that I know that he has and something that I think you'll hear more from him on.
Iran has fired on Arab Gulf states during the conflict, and war has been reignited between Israel and Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Israeli military on Monday said it had begun striking Hezbollah infrastructure in Beirut, and an Israeli strike hit a residential building in Beirut's southern suburbs. An industrial building and a fuel tanker at Israel's oil refineries in Haifa was hit by debris from an intercepted missile, according to authorities. Flames and thick smoke were seen billowing from inside the refinery complex. It was not immediately clear where the missile was fired from.
Fulfilling a pledge by Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's allies, Israel's parliament passing a new law making the death penalty a default sentence for Palestinians convicted of deadly attacks.
Israel's parliament on Monday passed a law making the death penalty the default sentence for Palestinians convicted of deadly attacks in military courts. The move fulfills a pledge by Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's far-right allies. Far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir promoted the measure.
From today onward, every terrorist shall know, and the whole world shall know, he who takes life, the state of Israel will take his life. This justice needs to be seen and done, and starting tomorrow morning, with the help of the blessed God, it will be done.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, meanwhile, condemned the legislation, saying it's a breach of international law and a doomed bid meant to intimidate Palestinians. The measure has drawn international criticism of Israel, which is already under scrutiny for increasing violence by Jewish settlers against Palestinians in the occupied West Bank. It includes provisions requiring an execution by hanging within 90 days of sentencing, with some allowance for delay, but no right to clemency. Palestinian militant groups Hamas and Islamic Jihad called on Palestinians to launch attacks in revenge for the law. Israel abolished the death penalty for murder in 1954. The only person ever executed in Israel after a civilian trial was Adolf Eichmann in 1962. Eichmann was an architect of the Nazi Holocaust. 54 countries around the world permit the death penalty, including a handful of democracies such as the United States and Japan.
The outgoing UNRWA chief Philippe Lazzarini warned in a letter on March 20th that the agency's viability is in doubt and a collapse could leave Israel running Gaza's humanitarian work. Amid months of funding shortfalls and no permanent succession before his departure, Lazzarini said that life in Gaza is nothing else than a misery.
On the eve of his exit, Philippe Lazzarini, the outgoing head of the UN Agency for Palestinian Refugees, said that life in Gaza had become nothing else than misery. His comments came on Monday as fresh funerals were held for Palestinians killed in Israeli strikes, and humanitarian conditions continue to deteriorate. Lazzarini has warned that the future of UNRWA is now in doubt. In a letter earlier this month, he said that if the agency collapses, Israel would have to take over its humanitarian work in Gaza. The UNRWA has operated for decades as the main international body, providing welfare services to millions of Palestinian refugees. Yet, it has faced major funding problems since early 2024, after the US, its longtime biggest donor, froze funding. That freeze followed Israeli accusations that some UNRWA staff took part in the deadly Hamas attack that triggered the Gaza war in October 2023. Lazzarini's warning came at a critical time, with no permanent replacement appointed ahead of his departure on March 31st.
You do not have an existing alternative in Gaza. UNRWA is certainly the only organization which has the manpower, the expertise, the community trust when it comes to public health or education services. There is no other NGOs or UN organization, but we also know that the Palestinian Authority is not ready to take over.
Israel accuses UNRWA of bias, and the Israeli parliament passed a law in October 2024 banning the agency from operating in the country and prohibiting officials from having contact with it. According to a UNRWA spokesperson, Lazzarini will be temporarily replaced from April 1st by British official Christian Saunders.
I have a mixed feeling today, a feeling of bitterness, but also sadness and also some pride. Bitterness because I have been at the forefront over the last 2 years of extraordinary breaches of international law, witnessing atrocities, attack against the United Nations, sadness because many of our colleagues have been killed, nearly 400 in 2 years. That's never been seen in the entire United Nations.
In Lebanon, 2 Indonesian UN peacekeepers had been killed in the south of the country in an explosion. The UN agency tasked with policing the region said an explosion of unknown origin destroyed their vehicle, causing their deaths.
It marks the latest fatal incident involving UN forces in Lebanon. On Monday, the UN peacekeeping mission in the country said 2 of its personnel were killed in an explosion. It comes after another Indonesian peacekeeper was killed on Sunday when a projectile of unknown origin struck southern Lebanon. UNIFIL said it had launched probes to determine what happened in both cases. The spokesperson for the UN Secretary-General called for accountability.
Attacks on peacekeepers, as we've been saying quite a bit, is a grave violation of international humanitarian law and of Security Council Resolution 1701 and may amount to war crimes. There will need to be accountability.
UNIFIL was established by the UN Security Council in 1978. Since then, it has acted as a buffer between Israel and Lebanon. The peacekeeping force patrols the de facto border between the two countries in collaboration with the Lebanese army. Hundreds of peacekeepers have been killed since the mission was created, according to UN data. The latest deaths come not long after the Israeli military announced it would ramp up ground and air attacks against the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah.
Let's take a short commercial break. More world news on the other side. And welcome back. 50 countries have backed a joint resolution on North Korea's human rights, which was adopted on Monday in Geneva local time. It calls for improvement in the treatment of North Koreans within the regime, as well as inter-Korean dialogue.
The United Nations Human Rights Council has adopted a resolution on North Korea's human rights situation Monday in Geneva. According to Seoul's foreign ministry, South Korea was among some 50 countries co-sponsoring the document, which passed by consensus. The resolution points out systematic, widespread and grave human rights violations inside the North, including torture and sexual violence across the prison and detention system, the persecution of women and girls, and the expanding use of digital surveillance and the death penalty to suppress dissent. It calls on Pyongyang to close all political prison camps and end public executions. It also warns that forced labour, including the deployment of workers abroad, may constitute enslavement under international criminal law. The resolution further calls for the immediate repatriation of adoptees, including South Korean and Japanese nationals, and the resumption of reunions for families separated by the Korean War. At the same time, the resolution recognised that Pyongyang participated in the UN's Universal Periodic Review and complied with certain human rights obligations. The document also stressed the importance of engagement, including inter-Korean dialogue, as a means of improving human rights inside the North. Seoul has highlighted these points in line with the Lee Jae-myung government's push to re-engage with Pyongyang. South Korea has been a consistent co-sponsor of the annual resolution on North Korea's human rights from 2008 through 2018. It set out, during the Moon Jae-in administration, a period of inter-Korean engagement before rejoining under the previous administration in 2023. The Lee government has upheld this position while maintaining its policy of peaceful coexistence with the North, according to Unification Minister Chung Dong-hyung on Monday. The Human Rights Council has passed a North Korea-specific resolution every year since 2003. Pyongyang has consistently rejected the measures, calling them politically motivated.
It played out in broad daylight in front of children returning home from school. A father and son visiting from overseas have been viciously attacked outside a Derana home in Australia.
A father and son embrace after an ordeal they'll never forget. 57-year-old Shane Hunt and his 30-year-old son Shane Jr., fresh out of surgery, covered in bandages that hide the horror of an attack that happened just 24 hours earlier. Just after 3 p.m. yesterday, the victims were allegedly confronted by a 37-year-old man, a chair used as a last line of defence, the pair doing what they can to protect themselves outside a family member's of Girraween home, but the alleged knife-wielding attacker is relentless. Both men stabbed several times. School children witnessing the ambush unfold on Palm Street. It's just out of shot, but this brawl continues in the family's backyard. Children run from the scene. Police and paramedics are there in minutes. The street shut down before the 37-year-old allegedly responsible is taken down. He's also injured, but not stabbed, surrounded by police, placed on a stretcher and taken away. Tonight, the family is launching fundraising efforts to help with their recovery.
Residents and tourists in Thailand's Chiang Mai voice growing health concerns as the northern city remains shrouded in thick smog, keeping the city among the world's most polluted.
It is a city world-renowned for its lush landscapes and iconic mountain vistas. But today, Chiang Mai's beauty is buried beneath a suffocating grey curtain. Residents and tourists alike are sounding the alarm as northern Thai capital remains shrouded in a dense, toxic smog that has turned the skyline into a monochrome ghost town. The numbers are staggering. The air quality index hit a peak of 165. According to the global tracker IQ Air, that is firmly in the unhealthy zone, a reading that consistently keeps Chiang Mai ranked among the most polluted cities on the planet. For visitors, the loss is aesthetic. The famous panoramic views from Doi Suthep mountain have simply vanished into the haze. For the locals, the loss is far more personal. It is the loss of the ability to breathe safely in their own homes. The culprit is a familiar seasonal enemy, massive wildfires continuing to burn across the northern region. These fires are now dual threat, fueling an immediate health crisis while simultaneously choking the local economy. The reports say the vital tourism sector is beginning to buckle under the weight of the smog as travelers reconsider the plans to visit the Rose of the North.
After winning a disputed December election that the opposition largely boycotted, Faustin Archange Touadera was sworn in for the third time as president of the Central African Republic.
Faustin Archange Touadera was sworn in on Monday for a third term as president of the Central African Republic. He was declared winner with nearly 78% of the vote in a disputed December election that the opposition largely boycotted. His inauguration ceremony formalized a fresh 7-year mandate. That is after constitutional changes approved in 2023 removed presidential term limits, allowing Touadera to run again. Opposition groups and some civil society organizations have rejected the result. They cited irregularities and a lack of transparency in a vote held in a country still grappling with insecurity. The re-election consolidates Touadera's grip on power in a fragile state where armed groups continue to operate despite the 2019 peace deal. His government has also deepened security ties with Russian forces while seeking to reassert control over natural resources and stabilize the economy.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. And welcome back. Time is running out for a young humpback whale named Timmy as it continues struggling to find its way out of the shallow bays off the Baltic coast of Germany after a week-long ordeal that has put its survival in doubt.
The window of time to save a young humpback whale stuck in the shallow bays off the Baltic coast of Germany is running out. A week-long ordeal has put the survival of the 40 to 50-foot mammal named Timmy in doubt as of Monday. Rescuers are using dredging equipment and boats to guide the whale back onto a long route to the Atlantic. But Burkhard Baschek, scientific director of the German Oceanographic Museum, says ultimately it is up to the whale to make it out on its own.
It's not about pulling the whale into deeper water, it's solely about whether the whale is fit enough to move its fins and swim on its own, and for that it needs strength. It gets strength either from food, which is impossible, or from rest, and that's why we've given it rest. Those are the options we have. That means minimal impact and hopefully maximum success. As slim as the chances are, we're trying to make the most of them.
Baschek said further options would be discussed if the animal is unable to free itself, but said they were not at that point yet. Repeated rescue attempts have failed, with Greenpeace and its partners documenting the whale in distress, with skin irritation and fishing gear entangled in its mouth. Over the weekend, there were brief glimmers of hope when the whale managed to free itself twice before running into difficulty again. Humpback whales are not native to the Baltic Sea. Conservationists say disrupted migration routes and human influence play a role in whale strandings worldwide, but they can also become disoriented while searching for food.
Megastar singer Celine Dion announced her return to performing after a lengthy break prompted by a rare health condition, calling the comeback news revealed on her birthday the best gift.
The Eiffel Tower lit up for a special reason Monday night, hearkening back to Celine Dion's acclaimed performance at the Paris Olympics. The light show set to her music was accompanied by a video message on the star's Instagram page, where she used the occasion of her 58th birthday to make a big announcement.
This year, I'm getting the best gift of my life. I'm getting the chance to see you, to perform for you once again in Paris.
A series of 10 shows are planned beginning in September. For days, the French capital had been teased by a series of clues a big announcement was coming, as posters bearing the names of some of Celine Dion's biggest songs popped up across the city. Fans are ready to get their hands on what is sure to be the hottest ticket in town. In 2022, Celine revealed she was battling a rare neurological disorder called stiff person syndrome, a disease affecting her mobility and vocal cords. The illness prompted her to cancel a series of live shows. In her message, she said she was nervous, but looking forward to taking the stage again.
Managing my health, I'm feeling good, I'm singing again, even doing a little bit of dancing.
After 2 runs in Las Vegas, Celine already has the record for the 2 most lucrative concert residencies of all time. Now it's clear as she prepares to take the French capital by storm this fall, a new day has come.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With hopes of seeing you again, I'm Marsha Fernando, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of our nation living art butterflies. Thank you for watching World News Tonight on other Derana News channel. Please tune in tomorrow for the latest updates. Have a wonderful night ahead.